Welcome to the Mo Wiff 3 Up, 3 Down podcast. I'm your host, Cam Smith. New setup behind me here tonight if you're watching on YouTube, but I am joined as well as always by my co-host, Roy Rank. Rory, it is February. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. We are 1 month away from the 2024 Mo Wiff season. Can't wait. And I
Yikes.
haven't been doing much but preparing for this season. Ready to go, man.
Hey, the weather out is starting to get a little bit better, so
Oh yeah.
I'm excited. We're finally starting to think about wiffle ball a little bit more. Actually, I kind of always think about it, but
Yeah.
wanting
It's
to
always a
play
good
that
thing.
feeling of, hey, I can get outside and start playing. Can't wait for
Yep.
this weekend. This actually podcast will probably be out on Monday, uh, but I'll probably be out over the weekend, maybe getting a little hitting in. Might throw a little bit, we'll see. But um, we are a week away from our tryout, our rookie tryout, um, and less than a month away from our draft. Um, Exciting times here at MoWiff. And today we are going to break down our top 15 player list. We'll talk about, you know, everything that kind of went into it, how we kind of decided to do this, what criteria some people used. Our three main segments. So we'll talk about spots 15 through 11, and then we'll go 10 to 6, and then we'll end with 5 to 1. But we'll actually throw in some more stuff in there in between. So before we get started, Rory, um, first off, I got this idea from Sam Skivvy. He uses it from the SWBL League. Theirs actually is going out, around the same time as ours. I think ours actually finished a little bit before theirs went out, but got the idea from him. What did you think about the initial idea of doing a player ranking?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a great idea, man. It's the top 15. It's voted on by the players. And, honestly, these are the kind of things that make a league fun. Yeah, it allows for trash talking and some competitive banter and things like that throughout the season. I think it's so important that the previous league I was in, the Lawa, we came up with a system called Player Rater. And shout out to JJ, who came up with an algorithm that actually took into account players' strengths in pitching and at the plate, and it generated a report.
Hmm,
And I mean, we use that thing to talk so much trash. It's not even it's
I
unreal.
love
So,
it.
I love it. Yeah, it's a great thing. Anytime you can open up the dialogue about who's better or who's got a bigger skill set. It's always a good thing, man. It keeps the dialogue going and game's competitive.
Yeah, absolutely love that. That would be it'd be pretty cool to see. I've been like thinking about it recently. The MLB Hall of Fame just came out, and I listened to Baseball is Dead podcast, and like, they talk a lot about war and all these new statistics, and like they
Right.
do a segment where they break down former like MVP races and who should have won versus who did win. It's a lot of fun to listen to. Um, and I'm like, man, like it'd be really cool to like if I could like figure out the war in like in wiffle ball, just to like
Right.
have an idea, but
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough for that. So if anybody does know how to do that and wants to do it, please
You
let me
know,
know.
You're exactly right. There's all kinds of metrics and stats out there. WAR, wins against replacement. You can debate it for days on end. And I don't know that it's necessarily science, but it's definitely something, and it is what baseball is. I mean,
Yeah.
you have Moneyball, or if you will, some of these things that kind of have been coming about lately, and people believe in it and they live by it. And wiffle ball is no different. But the only thing that is different in this game is we don't quite have the statistician and the manpower, but
Yeah.
we do our best. We do what we could do.
Hey, we have a lot more than most people in most leagues do,
Sure,
though, which I
absolutely.
I personally love. I love being able to go back and look at the stats. I actually look at them all the time. I was looking at them
Yep.
today,
Oh yeah.
and not even for this. Like I was just looking at them to. I was having a conversation with a couple guys about players, and I was like, I wonder where this person it ranks
Right.
in hits and average, and it
Exactly.
was just a fun little deep dive. So
And sometimes those stats surprise you. You
yeah,
think, man, I didn't
I was
realize that guy was
surprised.
doing that. Yeah.
I was
But
very surprised in some of the stuff I saw because I was looking at career stats from all of our players from all the years.
yes. Yes.
So
But hopefully people who voted took it serious, and you want to take this as serious as possible. You want to put together a list that makes sense, and I used some different criteria to form my list, but what kind of criteria were you looking for on this list, Cam?
So I kind of went a little different than probably most people did is obviously I took into effect how you did last year and
Right.
really what I think your expectation of from me is going into next year. So like who I think are the best players going into next year, but also taking into account their previous success. So like career stats do matter for me. Awards matter. Um, Also, like one of the big things in my rankings personally is how I play against you. Like
Right.
there, like, and I will get into it when we get into my list in a little bit, but like there's guys that ended up higher in the list but are lower on mine just because I fare well against them. And like to me, I'm gonna put somebody I struggle with ahead of a guy that I whether I hit or pitch against well, they're gonna be lower on my list because of that reason. So um yeah, that's really kind of all I use, but a little bit of everything, but mainly, what I think like what I think as a view as a player going into the 2024 season. So, what about you?
Yeah, I think I think you nailed it. I mean, those are the same metrics I use, the same logical conclusion. But when you go to a default setting, I think it goes back to where would this person be picked in a schoolyard pick? Where's he going in an open draft? You
Yeah.
have two guys, similar skill set, similar stats. Who's got the advantage when you say I want that guy on my team?
Yeah, that's not something that I use, but I know people who did submit their list did use is, hey, if this is a draft and I was a franchise, who am I
Yep.
taking? Like, who am I taking one overall? Who am I taking two? Like, they did it that way, which is totally fair. There is no right or wrong way to do this list. It is for fun, but at the same time, we do like to take things seriously, and like it is just like a fun like you said, like it's a bragging rights, but
What it
it is
is.
also for fun. So it was just
Yeah.
cool. I wanted to get the some of our top players, a little bit more recognition than just some here and there posts. Like this is like, hey, this post is all about you. I
Yeah.
tried to give my best little, wording in each of their posts. So like, it's
Right.
not just like, oh, here's number 15, here's his name. Like you got a
Correct.
little backstory of why they kind of fit into that spot and why they deserve to be on the list. So,
And provides a little bit of bragging rights. If you share it on social
yep,
media, somebody may say, "Hey, man, that's the number eighth. That's the eighth best person in Mo Wiff St. Louis." It's
yep,
like,
absolutely.
it's something that people can take a little pride in. Hey, look, my peers think that I am this good. And I know that I've always appreciated lists. Way back in the day, I was put on some list ranked, as a pitcher in the nation. And I'm like, hey, at one point I was ranked 14th best in the nation. It's just something that you can say at some point somebody thought I was that good. So
Hey,
I appreciate it.
I'll always take that
Yeah.
time to say, hey, I was the 2021 pitcher of the year. I was the
You
number one
got it.
pitcher in the damn
That's
country.
right.
Like,
That's
I'm
right.
gonna use
Yeah.
that every time. So
That is,
it is
yeah.
cool, but I know Paul Cook from MAW puts out. He didn't do one this year, but he's famous for his top 100 player list. Last year we had quite a few players on that
Yes.
list. So basically, kind of the same thing. Even though he has his own kind of criteria, but this is kind of our way to do it, which is fun. So.
Yep. It's a great thing.
Yep. So we had 12 voters from the league. Hopefully next year we can get a little bit more now that this is kind of become a thing. Um, I did so, and how I kind of did these rankings. So when you sent in your votes, if you got a first place vote, you got 1 point. If you got a second place vote, you got 2 points, all the way down to 15. If you were not ranked, you got 17 points. And the lowest score, obviously, is the number one. Kind of like off, right? Um, so on and so forth. I listened to Sam and I probably should have done this because he does it on he takes off the highest and the lowest ranking, to prevent bias.
Right.
I will implement that next year. I did not do that for this year only because we had like only 12 submissions. So these are the true rankings. I mean, it was the first time doing it, so it's a lot of fun.
Right.
But um It is what it is. And before we get into the list, let's talk about um, some of the players who just missed out on this top 15 list. Rory, I have the guys who got votes. Is there anyone that you had in mind that should have been on this list that didn't make it?
Well, I think the number one guy that I thought really could have cracked the fifth top 15 is probably Colin Wilkerson. You're looking at a guy who he's fourth overall in strikeouts as a pitcher last year with 87, and he quietly hit four bombs. I don't really remember anybody overtly expressing their knowledge on him being a home run hitter, but four was actually second in the league. So you're I think obviously if you're just going by his body of work of last year, I think you could say this guy probably should have been in the top 15.
That's funny you say that because, when I was doing my rankings, I initially didn't think of him, and maybe that was because of like the Empire bad start in like the first half of the year, but he really did come on, especially after that trade to the Mojo. But I was looking at those stats today, and I'm like, I didn't realize, like, oh,
Right.
okay. Like he actually had a really good season, but I think it just got
Sure did.
outshined by a couple of different people that we didn't expect. And he was one of those guys that we kind of expected to do well. And he actually did do well. He had a really
Did
good
do well.
season. He's definitely a guy that I think is going to be on this list next year. Um, he's an easy pick that, especially now a year under his belt, like he's going to be good. But that is a great pick. I do like that. Is there anybody
Yeah.
else?
Well, yeah, and just real quick to
Yeah,
touch on Colin, I think you nailed it there with what you just said. He's the most likely candidate to push his way onto this list next year by far. I mean, he's
absolutely.
a guy that I expect to really just take another step, and he's gonna make his presence known. Yeah, one other guy that I had, it's actually two guys I had were Justin Hall and Ethan Bailey, both rookies to the league last year. Justin Hall, one of the hardest throwing rookies. I actually had him ranked on my list, but he he could be very well be one of the top two-way players in the league. His pitching was outstanding. His hitting came on late, but he had some clutch hitting that I don't think you could forget real easily.
Yep.
Especially it was some of it was against us. And
Yeah.
then Ethan Bailey, his sample size was just too small to really form an opinion on or to get on the list. But if this guy continues to show up and show out, uh,
Yeah,
he
you got
might
to
be
put him on
knocking
there.
me off the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he continues to do what he did last year, absolutely. Justin's a guy that I do expect to take a step further as well next year. So definitely a guy that could be knocking on the door of this list. All three of these guys so far did get votes. Um, Another guy that got a lot of votes that probably just missed out. I think he was, yeah, he so ranked 16. Brett Spencer,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
who has been a phenomenal player every year in this league. He was, the guy on the Dingers pilots teams, and then he goes to the Mojo, and it was a big piece for them as well.
Yep.
Not only in the hitting category and all of those teams, uh, but pitching as well. He was uh, I think he finished third in Cy Young in season one, which not a lot of people remember, but he really pitched well in that first season, and I think it gets kind of a little forgotten about now that he doesn't pitch as much. So definitely a
Right.
guy
Yeah.
that, he was right there in the list and um, just missed off.
Right.
Uh, Another guy that I was actually kind of surprised about, and I think the reason why this guy didn't make the list is because we weren't sure he was even going to be in the league this year until a couple weeks ago. Um, when he found out
Yeah.
his work schedule and that he is going to be able to make it. But it's Ryan Brown. I mean, the,
Yes.
the the guy's a hitter, and I
Yeah.
think I think not pitching also hurts him. But I think it was just the fact that he wasn't on a team and we weren't sure if he was going to play, so people weren't voting for him. But
Correct.
uh, he's got a batting title. And
Yes.
the guy's like, I think he's an over 300 career average. Like that's very hard to do in this league.
He is. He's actually, yeah, he's top five average. And the thing is with Ryan is that I agree with you 100%. I left him off my list for that reason because I had actually contacted Ryan about playing when he was a free agent, understanding that this guy is somebody you could use on your team. And
Yeah.
there was some, confusion on whether he'd be back or not. So I wasn't sure whether we'd rank him. And there's another person I left off my list for that reason as well. due to the fact that they aren't playing next year too, and Sam Eichenlaub. And I think that Sam
Yeah,
would
he would have
easily
been.
have
He would have been on
drawn
this
some votes.
list for
But
sure.
yeah, definitely shout out to Ryan Brown and everything he's done at the plate in his career. He deserves a mention. He deserves a spot, and you know, I agree with that. Anybody else that received votes that kind of got left off?
Yeah, a couple guys. I mean, a couple guys got like one or two votes. You know, Jimmy Stout, uh, who's had a good hitting season, also a championship, as well as Ryan Brown, Greg Thornton, who
Oh yeah,
the average might not be there, but he's got the home runs, he's got the RBIs, he's up there in those in the top half of those categories. So,
yeah,
he did just miss out, but gets votes. Like you said, Justin Hall, Brian Hunter, um, yeah, Colin and Ethan, Jay Rich. Jay Rich has been a good player. He did get a vote. So, um,
yes.
a lot of good
Always
players
underestimated.
that were right there. Wanted to give them the recognition, but they had just missed out on this list. So,
Yeah, unfortunately.
yep. All right. Well, let's get into the top 15. First up, we have 15 through 11. We're going to start with number 15. It is my former teammate. I coached this guy, and now he's gone. And he left me. He got his own team, the Kings. It's Nick Bone. Did this surprise you at all that Nick made this list?
No, because I had him ranked at 12, and I
Love it.
think that Nick deserves to be in the top 15. And you take a look at what this guy's done over his career, and his numbers aren't the best, right? So he's got a career average of 180, career ERA of 5.53. Uh, but this guy's getting better every year. So every year his
Yep.
walks and hits per inning go down, and his strikeouts go up on the mound. Not to mention, he started off, as I said last podcast, last year at the plate. And so yeah, it doesn't
Yep.
surprise me at all. He has the ability to dominate a game on the mound and change the game with the swing of the bat. So not at all.
Yeah, I love seeing Nick Bone on this list. I had him at 15. I thought this was an accurate a spot for him. Uh First time All-Star last year. Not a guy that, a lot of people look at and like, oh, like he's gonna overpower me, but he'll get you out and he'll get
Yes,
a
he
hit
will.
off you. He's a very sneaky player, very smart, intelligent player. He's got a long wiffle ball background.
Yep.
Um I think this was a perfect spot for Nick, and I think he's got all the tools, and now being a captain, he's got a chance to move up this list. So I'm very excited and looking forward to Nick, but glad that he did make it.
Yeah, Nick's just always got such a good attitude on the field too. The guy's a wiffle ball player.
Yep,
I can tell. I'm sure you can speak better on this than I. He's a great teammate, from what I
absolutely.
can see, and he's always intense. He's always in the game, and so yeah, Nick is a guy that you obviously have to respect in this game, and a top 15, deservedly so.
Yeah, one of the guys that I'm gonna miss playing with. I mean, I played with a lot of guys over my career, and he is one of my favorite guys to play with. Just how much he listens and the knowledge that he soaks up, and just how much he loves the game. Like me and him, like we had that same kind of wiffle ball mind where we just
Yep,
really love this game, and I love that about Nick. So good on him for
absolutely.
making it here at 15.
Well, who do we have at 14, Cam? And what do you think?
At 14, it was a rookie last year. James Dutton cracks this list. Uh, James Dutton had a hell of a season, and I think there was no question that he was going to make this list. He was second in rookie of the year voting. I actually had him at 13, so one step down here from my list, but uh, the guy was an all-star. Well, he was an all-star, but he was just a
Yes.
phenomenal pitcher. And not only that, but like we saw the potential of his bat at the plate hitting some long, long home runs.
Yep. Double
Yeah.
fencers.
Yeah, no kidding. Off of you guys, but yeah. Yeah. What do you think about James?
Yeah, I agree with you. I had him ranked at 14, as a rookie in 2023. He comes in and just showing out for the Mambas essentially on the mound. I wasn't able to attend the rookie tryout, but I seen the scouting report on Dutton and I said I think this is a guy I would take a chance on. And Cole did that and it absolutely worked out. He came in throwing hard. He went 5-2 as a rookie, had 799 Ks, which was fifth in the league.
Yeah, it's
And
impressive.
one more than you, Cam. Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting
well,
stat.
he said that
But he
was
only
yeah.
that's all right. But he
He
only
probably
gave
pitched
up.
a lot more than me though. because
He did.
I
He
didn't
didn't
pitch
throw.
a
You did
ton
not throw,
as much last
but
year.
but he does have that ability. I threw one more K than Camp, so
Hey,
he could say that. But he
I
only
take
gave
it.
up 8 runs all year for a 1.1 ERA,
Very impressive
1.11 ERA, and that is impressive. But
for a true
I think
rookie, a true
true
wiffle ball
rookie,
rookie.
yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
I think you'd be remiss if you didn't talk about the home runs he hit, including one off you and that one off
Jeez.
Jordan in the playoffs, which was I wasn't too happy to see that, but it was
Yeah.
huge.
No,
And
absolutely.
yeah, the guy really just came in and quietly again established himself as a premier rookie and somebody that you're going to have to deal with in 2024 for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun watching him. I'm really excited. I think this Mamba's team is gonna be dangerous, especially with him as the ace.
Yeah.
We'll get into that topic on another podcast before the season starts when we talk about, kind of our predictions and stuff. But I can't wait for
Yeah.
that because it's gonna be a lot of fun with how well James did in his first year.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. At number 13, it was you.
It's me.
How did you feel about the 13th rank?
Well, I mean, when you look at the
Didn't love it.
stats, just absolutely ranked way too low. What were the voters thinking? No. Here's the deal. Here's a
I
guy.
love it. I love
Here's a
it.
guy who's ranked second all time in Mo Wiff and career batting average, ninth all time in home runs, and fourth all time in hits, despite missing the first season.
Also, I will say like a lot of people don't think about this. The average stats are very inflated and hurt every single hitter that played in year one except for Cole.
Except
Because
for Cole, I
because Cole
agree with that.
because
Yes,
Cole is
Cole
still
showed out.
second all time in average.
Yes,
And the rules were so much harder for hitters in year one. So the average stat is a little bit biased because if you take into account year one,
correct.
but still very impressive. You're a
No,
very good hitter. One of the guys that I don't like personally facing on the mound because I feel like you're always right on pitches, right on, like what I'm throwing. I have to be very
yeah,
careful, which I don't like to do sometimes, but I think a big reason why you're kind of lower on this list is the fact that you didn't pitch last year. The arm
yeah.
got you, but still a
You
hell
know,
of a player.
no, I appreciate it. Not to mention, I just want to throw one more stat out there. I did get 4 wins my rookie year after tearing my UCL. And I, in my first start, Mo Wiff career start. But with all that being said, for real, I'm kind of being a little facetious here, but it is an honor to crack the top 15. And ultimately, it's my job to change everybody's mind. So
There you go.
everybody,
Absolutely.
I had myself ranked 10, and that's only because I know that I am pitching again this year.
Yep.
So if nobody knew that, I understand. But you know what? When I get back on the mound this year, we'll all see it again,
Yep.
right or wrong.
I had you at 12, and that was mainly
That's
uh
fair.
the unknown of you pitching. But yeah, if you can bring
Yeah,
back that pitching that that we've seen in the past and you continue this onslaught at the plate, definitely get to climb up on this ranking. All
sounds
right.
good.
Number 12, Jackson Crosley. Now, Jackson had a phenomenal season last year, but he only pitched in 5 games. I don't know the exact number of games he actually played in.
Right.
Um, but do you think that's a reason why he's lower, or do you kind of think this is where you would have had him?
Well, Cam, here's what I got. One criteria that I used that I didn't mention before was how does this player stack up on a national level? And I
I
only
like that.
use that metric when deciding between Jackson Crosley and one more that we'll mention later. But here's the deal. Jackson doesn't have a lot of games in Mo Wiff in 2023 to look at. Like you said, he only showed up a few, but when he did show up, forced to be reckoned with.
He
But
was
what
absolutely.
I think we're foolish to not talk about what Jackson did at a national level last year, including that epic performance at the national on the national stage and the
Yeah.
absolutely gutsy performance. And here's why it matters. That guy has shown what he can do,
Yep.
and he showed what he could do on the mound in Mo Wiff last year. And when you're talking about the Jackson Crosley, the guy that shows up and just blows it past you, he's a force to be reckoned with, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I still feel bad about that because uh partially that's on me. at that national championship, like, because like I lost a game, made him throw an extra game. We shouldn't have had to do that. Me and him should have
Ah,
been 1-2, not
yeah,
losing game. It was a game by that I
it
should
happens though.
a couple of walks in the first inning and then give up a double or whatever in the first inning and then settle down on the rest of the weekend. But
Yeah,
like you said, he was an absolute dog out there. I mean, Kerry,
dog.
he was the ace of our pitching staff last year
Yeah,
at NWLA. Um, and the guy was he was an absolute monster in Mo Wiff when he played.
sure.
But I think the reason why he was so low was the fact that um, you and it's one thing that I took into account on this list is how much do you show up for your team
That's
because
fair.
that matters.
That's fair.
This is, I mean, you can use it as a player ranking as this is the best player, which some people did. I use it to account, but like, with Jackson, I had him at 14 only because you not being there all those other weeks takes the value away from your team, which is why I had him a little bit lower. But is Jackson a top 3, 4 pitcher?
Yeah,
Probably. I mean, with the
probably.
way he pitched last year, it's hard to argue. I think he finished third in Cy Young. Uh, so yeah, he's as of last year, he's a top 3 pitcher, and he ends up 12th on the list. And I think it's only because of the
Yep.
time that he missed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. For the same points I gave him for the national level, you got to knock him down a few points for not showing up. Because
Yeah.
if he puts in 17 games, he's maybe in the top five. It's not completely unreasonable. You look at what he did last year, 0.22 ERA, only gave up one home run to Jordan.
Yeah,
Uh,
his highest ranking was 6th by voters, and his lowest ranked was only 14, and he comes in at 12. But looks like I mean, he had quite a bit of the higher numbers in the voting, uh, but still, I think, I mean, if Jackson shows up, he's a guy.
that's
I
right.
mean, this list is gonna be tough next year if if everybody's continuing to get better. Where's people gonna go?
Right. And he's also a lifetime 232 hitter, so it's not somebody that's an easy out. And I've seen him connect with some balls that really make you think, man, this guy has a lot of tools in his tool belt. So
Yeah, absolutely, he does.
sky's
So
the limit. Well, who do
great
we
player,
got?
fun player
Yeah,
too, fun
fun
player.
player. Yeah. Well, who do we got
Always
rounding out
drinking. We
the
got
top 11 or
at
the top
11.
15? Yeah.
This was a controversial one. It was Gus Skibby, and I think for the same reasons as Jackson was the availability. Did that hurt the value of his ranking? Because he's not there for his team. What's his schedule going to look like next year?
Correct.
How many games will he be? Living in Kansas City, it's very tough for him to get here. And now, we changed the rule from, 3 nights that you have to be here, which could have been a minimum of 3 games to um, be be eligible for playoffs, but now you have to play in 5 games. So
Right.
a little more strategy. Now you have to fit in your schedule. Last year we played on, I believe we played on SWBL weekend when he was already in town. We're not doing that this year.
Right.
That's another travel day that he's not going to be in town. That he's going to have to make up those games. Um, and I know because I know he did uh play that weekend. So that's already another weekend. Is that going to come into effect for Gus? We all know Gus Gus is probably one of the top 5 players in the league talent wise.
Right.
But this is not a list just based off talent. This is the Missouri Wiffle Ball League. And if you're only here for 5 games, that does hurt the value. And I value someone who's going to be here for the 17 games rather than just the 5 or 6 or however many you're going to make.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I had Gus ranked a little higher, 7. I agree with you though. It not being present for all games is we're looking at the Mo Wiff top 15, right? We're not
Yep.
looking at anything
Correct.
other than that.
Yep.
And so the thing is what he brings to the table because he brought it last year. He's 4-0 on the mound. He had a nasty drop ball that he blew past everyone and only got his season ended by a riser that he hung just a
Yep.
little bit too many times. But he hit 250 as a rookie, and that's pretty respectable. And managed one home run. He only had 12 at bats. So
Yeah.
again, you're talking about another guy who shows up. This thing could totally change.
His highest ranking was 2. and
Okay.
and he was not ranked. So there was a few that
Right.
didn't rank him.
Right.
I actually had him at 9, so I had him a little bit higher. I mean, yes, I'm taking into account that he's only here a few times, but
Right.
when he is here, he's got Skibby.
He's got
So
Skibby.
it does matter a little bit to me, but 9 still, still not putting him super high, not in the top 5 or anything, even though I would think if he was a full-time player, he's in the top 5 for me 100%.
Probably
Uh,
no doubt.
he's one of the best hitters I've ever played with. He is a nasty pitcher. I still love that video of that change up curveball. Like that is just he can do it all.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
and he's just the nicest guy ever too. So, you know, but putting him at 11, it was definitely controversial, but I think it kind of is validated a little bit by, what kind of people thought of, when he's going to be there. So,
Correct. Yeah, it's just hard to gauge the importance level of being there all the time versus
yeah.
how what does your eyes tell you?
Yeah.
The eyes tell you that I guess Skibby's a good wiffle ball player, and you know that.
He
So
passes the eye test.
yeah, he passes the eye test. Yeah.
Uh, all right. Well, that was 15 through 11. Next up, we have 10 through 6. We're going to get into some meaty players here, right? Number 10 on this list. So starting off our top 10, uh, coming off a championship uh, season, it's Spencer Bogad. What do you think about the Jiff Man and Spencer Bogad?
Well, this is the first player that I'm going to full blown disagree with. I had him ranked 15, and
Hmm.
that is generous considering. I think when we're talking about Spencer Bogad and the
Almost
history
choked.
of Mo Wiff, he deserves to be on the all-time list. But I think the ranking of 10 is a little high given the body of work that Spencer's put together in 2023. You're talking about a guy who hit for 125 in the stacked Melonheads lineup. But most of the Melonheads struggled in the first half of the season. So I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But pitching went 3 for 3. And in the biggest game of the season, he was pulled in the first inning after only getting one out. So I don't know if some GIF was stuck to his hand. I don't know if he had the residual GIF, but I find that maybe this was too high for Spencer Bogad.
Well, I like that. That's a good take. I actually had him right here at 10.
Okay.
Uh, let's see, his highest vote was 5, and he was actually not ranked. I think only one person didn't have him ranked, but other than that, he had like the highest he had was 15. Um, but when I think of Spencer, I've played with Spencer for a long time, a couple national tournaments. I've seen him in SWBL, so I know what he can do at the plate. I know 2023 he did have a down year at the plate. Um, and maybe a little bit at the mound too. And like Spencer's a guy I love facing when I'm at the plate. I see him very well
Same.
just from playing with him so much. I kind of know his pitches and what he likes to throw in certain situations. Um, but I know his talent is there, and like we've seen it a couple times. Even his pitching, a couple years ago was lights out. Once he found like a riser, and he was really, really good. I
Yeah.
think it's also consistency. Is he going to be there all the time? And maybe that throws off his hitting a little bit. Is that why his average was so low last year? Because he's been traveling a ton for work. Does that kind of get in the way of the wiffle ball schedule? And and who knows, like a lot of different things can account for that. So but
Yeah.
I thought this was a perfect spot for Spencer, right where I had him at 10. Um and
No,
I think it kind
I
of
think
fit.
it's I think it's fair. After returning Caleb back to the rent a pitcher program, I think the Melonheads are going to rely on Spencer.
Yeah,
Uh,
have
and
to.
and here's the deal: Spencer Bogad has to finally answer the question: is Spencer Bogad an All Star?
Ooh, that's one of my favorite topics. I love when he posts because I'll tell you, he actually has been an all-star. He's a one-time all-star.
Don't forget, I was his biggest fan last year. I proclaimed him an ace. I
And
still believe that he is an
I
ace.
And I think
or
he yeah,
can
he
be an
definitely he
ace.
definitely has the
Yeah,
potential to. And I think he's the one guy these past 2 seasons that has really been like right on the outside of the All-Star list. Uh
every time.
I mean he's literally like the guy left off. He's the guy that gets
Right.
snubbed every like these last 2 years. Wasn't All-Star in year one. And everyone knows that I think it was BS that he was not an all-star in year two. I think there was some
Yeah.
confusion along the voting that every team had to be represented in the all-star game
Correct.
when it did not.
Not necessarily.
And I think that was the in the divisions at that time, the divisions voted on who made the all-star
Correct.
team, and the whoever the captain was of that all-star team that year had the final say, and they made that decision. I was on the other division, so I didn't have a say, but I thought 1,000% he should have been an all-star in year two, especially. I
Yeah.
don't think I had him last year, but in my personal record book, he's a two-time all-star.
Yeah, and I think his home runs were up there in
Yeah,
2022,
yeah,
my first year in the league.
yeah,
He
yeah,
did
good
hit some
season.
bombs.
Yeah,
So, and he obviously has hit timely home runs, so
yeah,
not to disparage from him too much. He is a good player.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to number nine, and this is one of the ones that I kind of thought was um, too low on this list. Ryan O'Rear. Um, let's start with you. What did you think about
Okay.
Ryan O'Rear at nine?
I had Ryan ranked at 9. So I think it fits exactly where I think he should be. Here's a guy from day one at the Mo Wiff rookie tryout with me. I saw him to be a very special player in this league, and he's done nothing but absolutely be that. I thought that Ryan had a skill set that this league needed. He could pitch, he can hit, he's played wiffle ball, and he's been exactly what the Mambas thought they were getting. So he's fourth all time in batting average in Mo Wiff history. He's sixth all time in home runs. He's fourth all time in on base percentage. And just like me, he missed out on the inaugural year of Mo Wiff. So I mean, who knows
Yeah.
what we would have done in that first year? But I don't know. Here's what I'm going to say about Ryan O'Rear, man. I, I I feel like he's gotten a raw deal sometimes. The guy has had heartbreaking games, man. There's just
The
weird things that have happened in his games.
and more than I think more than any other player. I
It
mean,
has to be.
it's
Yeah.
over and over again that it's happened. Um, I remember a game against
Yeah.
us, not last year, but year prior. We were down 1 run in the last inning, and Logan Trotter hit a
Yeah.
walk off 2 run homer, like with
Correct.
with 2 outs. We were down to our
Yes.
last out.
I
It's
remember it
it's that kind
very,
of
very
luck.
clearly. Yeah.
It's that kind
Exactly.
of luck.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's one of the best pure hitters in the league. Um,
Exactly. Agreed.
it is there are very few people that are a better hitter than Ryan O'Rear. I think his pitching took a step back this past year with all the walks that he had,
Yeah.
but he's still a good pitcher. And now that he is a number two pitcher, I
Yeah.
think that's he is a very very good number two pitcher.
Yeah.
I said I didn't like agree with this number nine ranking. I had him ranked eighth.
Oh,
Looking at
okay.
the
You're right. Yeah.
looking at this list, I'm like, okay, actually, I kind of see that. Like, this is actually very accurate. But he's one of those guys that he hits me very well. So like, I look at him and I'm like, oh, he should be higher. And maybe that's
Right.
why, like in my mind, I'm like, oh, he should be higher. Um, I had him at eight, so only one
Yeah.
spot from there. But you know, he's a guy that, you put him and Cole in the same team together, like that's a deadly, deadly lineup with just those two, not even figuring anyone else into that lineup. So, um,
Correct.
yeah, like I said, I hate, pitching against him. He's just a raw, natural, talented hitter. So, um,
Yeah. And,
excited to
and
see if he can pick his pitching back up. I think that will help him.
oh yeah, yeah. And I played with him at UF's great teammate, and he's just an instant upgrade to any team that he's on because you already know that the guy is going to probably get a big hit at a big time. you just feel it. You just know that he's capable of doing it, and he's fun to play with. So he's a good clubhouse guy. He's however you want to put that, but he deserves to be in the top 10,
Yeah,
full stop.
absolutely.
And I think he's right where he needs to be.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right. Number 8, everyone's favorite player. It's the captain of the Melonheads, Jason Worsenholm, the championship series MVP, ranked number 8. Jason has been a phenomenal hitter in this league, and I think a very underrated pitcher. He did take a step back at the plate this past year. We saw the long drought of the home runs after,
Correct.
you know, leading the league in home runs the year prior. So I know he was probably a little frustrated with himself. He even like talked about not hitting a home run. I think it was you and him talking about how you guys hadn't hit home runs in a long time.
Exactly
Um,
right.
I had Jason 11 just because like I said earlier about a lot of these guys, it's how I like to face them,
You
like
got
how
it.
I fare against them. Um
Yes.
Overall, looking back, I definitely think he is a top 10 player. He was a top 3 MVP finalist in 2022.
Yep.
The guy can hit. I know he
Yeah.
struggled a little bit last year, but when you look back on it, like the guy's a hitter. I mean, he's a free swinger, but like in wiffle ball, sometimes that's what you want. Uh, and when he makes contact, it goes a long way. Look at what he did, in that extra inning game against Andrew in the playoffs when he hit that massive home run. So definitely has that star power. And like I said, underrated pitcher that, he'll give you innings. And I think, as of right now, you look at that Melonheads team, and he's going to have to be that number 1, number 2 pitcher again, depending on when Bogad will be
Correct.
there. So I think we'll really get to see how Jason bounces back after a slightly down year here in season 4 now coming up. So what did you kind of think
Yeah.
about Jason?
Yeah, I just couldn't agree with you more. You pretty much said everything I'm going to say. Yeah, I had him ranked 11 too. And
Nice.
Jason is directly responsible for why I don't have a championship. And that's because even though he did hit in a down year last year, that he showed up in the playoffs.
He was the guy in the playoffs this year for sure.
Yeah, bombed off of Andrew, extra inning,
Yep.
like you said, and then bomb off Jordan to start our game one.
Yeah.
Kind of took the wind out of our sails. So, who cares about hitting 167 when you go to the playoffs and you make it work for your team? And to go back to what you said, hit 463 and 22. So, the guy didn't forget how to hit. He's just maybe had a little down here. The Melon had struggled. I think they may have faced some good pitching, but
Yeah.
the Melon has just kind of struggled in general. So I'm not looking too much into that. The Archers excelled, but it was some pitching too. So you never know. It's the lot you get in that year of who you face and when you face them. So you don't want to look too much into that. But his stats are 263 in the playoffs this past year. So if you rat 167 to go up 100 points and hit 2 bombs, I'll take it all day. Jason's a great player. I agree with you on your comment though. I mark Jason down just a little bit because I see him well as a hitter.
Yeah.
And and when I'm pitching against him, I feel like I can get him out, but that's no guarantee. The guy is he's capable of hurting you.
Yeah, I think that's one of those eye test things where I think that
Right.
I pitch well against them, and I have in the past, but also he's got me a few times. So, like, looking back on it, it's probably one of the more controversial ones, him at 8, because I think he could definitely be higher, especially, after that uh
Yeah.
top 3 MVP finish and then the playoff MVP or
Yeah.
championship MVP. But like he was a star in those playoffs last year. Like that right
Correct.
there should have, because that's you got to take into account the clutch factor there. And like he
Jason
probably should have been higher.
Jason is clutch. I have faced him twice at least when I thought there's no way this guy can throw me another strike. I had him full counts and he delivers right down the middle and I either took it or missed it. So Jason is a clutch factor player in Mo Wiff on
His
nights.
highest ranking was 4th. His lowest ranking was 12. And we both said we had him at 11. So quite a
Yep.
few at the up. So I feel like there's some high, some low, some in the middle. Puts him at 8.
All
But
melonhead votes. All melonhead votes.
Probably. Uh, I have those numbers not in my head, not written down. I have no idea.
Right.
I'd have to go back and do a lot of research that I'm not going to do.
Nah, too much.
All right, let's move to number 7.
Yeah.
It is my brother. It's Cole Layton. What
Yeah.
do you think? What do you think here? What do you think about Cole at 7?
it's very important when you vote to take the time, do it right. And I'm so sorry, Cole. I left you off the list, bro. Apologies. Listen, I had Cole not rated, not because of his skill set, because I think I think something happened. I don't know. I couldn't believe it till today. I thought I had him ranked. I thought I had ranked Cole number 7, and then here he is at 7, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Didn't rank him, so apologies to Cole. So I wanted to come out and say first and foremost, I actually, when I met Cole, I anointed him as the best hitter in Mo Wiff
Mhm.
history at the time when I joined the league, because at that time he was. Cole deserves to be on this list, no doubt, if no other reason than the body of work he's put forth in this league. The guy is ranked fifth all time in average at 325. He's third all time in home runs and tied for first all time in RBIs at 64. He's first all time in runs scored. So here is why I didn't rank Cole, because other than that, I forgot. Cole's never won a championship, never made it out of the first round of the playoffs. But
Great
that
points.
still
Great
doesn't
point.
make him deserving of not top 15. But yeah, apologies,
That
Cole. You are the
that
man.
does make more sense to me of why he's at 7
That's right.
and not higher.
Yeah.
Not something I ever thought about. Um, I think hands down, I think he is. You can talk about Jordan winning the Triple Crown last year. Um, you can talk about Sam winning an MVP and doing a lot of good things at the plate year one. Talk about Jason and his almost Triple Crown in year two. Um, I still think Cole is the best hitter in the league.
Yeah.
Um, and not only that, he is the one guy, and he's gonna love this, but uh, I hate pitching to him. I've faced
Right.
him I've faced him probably more than 1,000 times, probably a million times, and he knows me too well. And it's part of us playing in the backyard a million times and
Sure.
uh, playing together and then playing against each other now for a couple years. Um, I think he kind of struggled a little bit last year too, and somehow still had a really good average. He was very frustrated with himself a lot last year, but there's still something that just when he steps into that box, you're
Yeah.
like, I got to be careful because one might go on the highway here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he brings that, and he hasn't been pitching as much. So that even says a lot that he's this high on this list when he really doesn't ever pitch anymore. He pitched a few times last year and pitched well.
As I
Um,
say, he pitched well last year.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he's not really he's their number three pitcher. He's not relied on as a guy to go out and get you quality starts. He'll give you innings, but uh, it's that bad that you got to worry about. And like you said, I put out those graphics of, all-time ranks and hitters. He was on in the top five of every
Yes.
single list, which
Correct.
playing in every single year, so hard to do, especially with the average. But, you know, most hits in the league. He's just a phenomenal
Yeah.
hitter. And yeah, like you said, the one thing he's missing is the success in the playoffs. And they almost had it and didn't have it. So
Yeah.
um,
It's all
you
right.
know, it
Again,
happens.
apologies to Cole. If it makes you feel any better, Cole, if you're listening, you were the only person to make me nervous in my first outing in Mo Wiff. I felt pretty confident against everybody. Felt like Cole may hit me, and he ripped a single to the fence right off the bat. So, welcome to Mo Wiff, Rory Rink. Cole delivered that, and I knew this guy can hit from that moment on. So, yeah, I mean, it just it's how it goes, but totally deserves to be in the top 10. He's probably arguably the greatest Mo Wiff hitter to date so far, as far as
Career wise,
consistency,
yeah,
career
absolutely.
wise. So shout out to him. That brings us to 6. Where are we at with that, Cam?
Number
6.
6, former teammate of mine, my buddy Andrew Nicholas, the captain of the Thunderbirds. Um, and I think this one was kind of a little bit controversial in some people. Maybe they may not have said it. Um, I actually had him ranked at 5 on my list. Even though I see him well, only probably because I taught him a lot of what he was doing on the mound, so I kind of knew his tendencies. And I think you could even see it in that video, that home run I hit off of him last year. is like I pointed, I think it was to Paul, and I was like, I told you I knew what he was throwing on the
Yep.
exact pitch that he threw. First pitch, this is what I'm getting. And uh but I you know, the dominance that he had until his arm started hurting this year, uh, he took a huge step up this
Hmm.
past year. He was in the Cy Young race for,
Yep.
3 quarters of the season this year, and then like arm started hurting, had a bad outing, and then, even in that playoff game, his arm was hurting, and he took his team to extra innings. He fought with like
Yeah.
bases loaded like every inning and still held that Melonheads team scoreless until, extra innings and they got that final blow. But um I think he is one of the best left-handed pitchers. Not only, well, he is the best
He
left-handed pitcher
is
in the
the
league,
best hand.
but I think
Yes.
he's one of the best left-handed pitchers in the country. And I don't think there's any arguing that.
Wow.
There's not a lot of lefties.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
There's a
Yep.
guy from Circle City who throws 100 miles an hour. He might be a little bit better. Um, but he throws hard. He throws strikes. He always comes through. He's a good bat too, a good lefty bat,
Yep.
which, there's not a ton. We have a lot of lefty bats in the league, but he is a good lefty bat, always a power threat. Um, he's an all-star game MVP. He is a champion, and he performed very well in the playoffs um, for the Bombers in year one. I think he's performed pretty well for the Thunderbirds in the playoffs. Um,
Yeah.
Outside that one loss, but um, I just think, he is one of the top five, top six players in the league. Um, and I'm proud to see his progression that he's really come through. So what did you think
Yep.
about Andrew at 6?
Well, I had him ranked at 6, so I
Perfect.
happen to agree. I'm backing what you're saying here. I have him down as most dominant lefty in the league, pretty much the only lefty in the league, but he is dominant, and I'm with you. I see him okay. I'm not scared, but the guy still gets you. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to get you. This is not an option. You're going to strike out, but you just hope that you kind of can get a hold of one that he leaves out over the plate. And luckily, my first year, I was able to do that. Last year, I did. I don't think I did very, very well against him. So, shout out
Yeah,
to
not
him.
a
He's
lot of
fit.
people did.
No, he's fifth all time in strikeouts too. And for a not a pitcher, we'll
Yeah.
go back to that. That's pretty good. And
Yeah.
then he's also got a career 2.54 ERA. So right in the mix. It's not too shabby. But uh,
You take away his first, I'd say 3, maybe 4 starts, and
right,
his ERA is
plummets.
probably half because like
That makes sense.
I think it was like those first 2, 3 starts that he had, he gave up a lot of runs. Like he was not a
Okay,
pitcher.
right.
And um but then once he found a pitch and he worked on it at home, he brought it to the field, practice, and then
There you go.
bam, all of a sudden clicked, and
Yeah.
the rest is history. Not
Yeah,
a pitcher.
that's awesome. Not a pitcher. But the pressure is on Andrew this year because he lost actually three really quality teammates
Yeah, he did.
and everything they brought to the table. So at 6, he's kind of got a pretty big burden on his shoulders here
Yeah.
to really show up and show out for the Thunderbirds. Um, hopefully he's up to the task because he's expected to play at a certain level now, and hopefully he continues to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to talk about that, too, in our coming podcast before the season starts. Hopefully I'll be able to do a bunch of those. For those of you who don't know, I'm having a baby. My wife's having a baby at the end of the month, early next month. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
hoping it's after the draft, please. Baby girl is due a week after the draft, so
Oh
please
boy.
hold off. And
Oh,
yeah, so my hands will be very tied for the
yeah.
month leading up to the season, but excited.
About to get
All right,
busy.
enough about the best part of my life.
Yeah.
um, let's go into our top 5. And starting off our top 5 is a guy that came in the league with you. He was drafted a pick after you at number 2. He
Yep.
was the rookie of the year in season 2, and that's Tony Cochran. What do you think about your boy Tony, now teammate, coming in at number 5?
Old Tony Cochran. So here's where I had Tony ranked 5. So again, agree with the list.
I had him at
But
6.
You had him at 6. That's fair. You nailed it. Since joining the league with me in 22, Tony has put up some impressive stats. Here's the thing you guys know now, Mo Wiff. The guy plays with unbelievable swagger. He's such a character, and he's a fun guy to play with. Uh, Number 2 overall in the draft. Luckily for him, he didn't tear his UCL. I didn't really put up a good fight for the rookie of the year, but he totally deserved it. The guy still hasn't lost in the regular season. He's 11-0, and with a 7th best all-time average at the plate of 283. But the thing that everybody knows about Tony is he can hit anyone at any time. He's done it, proved it, been there, done that. And the guy is just he's a person that won't go away.
I think that right there is the reason why I had him at 6, and you can easily make an argument for 5 because maybe even like maybe even 4. I think you can make that argument as well because 11-0 on the mound in the regular season. I don't think anyone else is undefeated in the regular season.
Nope.
Um, so hard to do, and to do it for 2 years, and being a guy that was relied on heavily as a number
Yes.
one or number two pitcher for those 2 years to go 11-0, very, very impressive. But the thing that's more impressive to me is what you said. It's the guys that he's hit off of. You know,
Yep.
I don't think he has a home run off me,
Yeah, I don't think he does.
but he did beat me on the mound. That's one of his 11 wins. Andrew got a double, a walk off, maybe it was a walk, I don't know, or it was extra innings. It was, I don't know. It was a
Mm-hmm.
double that they won the game. But home runs off Jordan, home runs off Caleb, home runs off O'Rear, home runs off of a lot of other people. But like,
Right.
and if you look back at the videos, I've been doing a lot of like, I've been looking at a lot of videos, and like Tom's been sending stuff, that we put on our TikTok and everything, which has been awesome. So appreciate you, Tom, for that. Um,
Yep.
but when I'm watching these videos, one thing I notice, all of most, a lot, most, because not all, but most of Tony's home runs, they're off fast pitch. And like,
Oh yeah.
not just
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
here's 75, 80. Like it's like, oh, here's like 90, here's
You got
95,
it. Yeah.
here's 88. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yes.
hard. And he barrels them up. And
He gets them.
he is one of the biggest power hitters here in Mo Wiff, and with that resume off of guys that he's hit the home runs off of, name a list of guys who've hit home runs off of Jordan, Caleb, and O'Rear. Those are the 3 I know off the top of my head that he's hit. It's gonna be a
Right.
very small list
Yeah.
if he's the only one. I think he's probably the only one, and very impressive. Um, but yeah, easy. I think no doubt argument that he should be in this top 5. Even though I had him at 6, I don't think you can argue that he belongs here in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah. I think you're right. And here's what you have now. He's going to be paired with the league MVP.
Yeah,
So let's see how that goes. But it's kind of an exciting time. Tony may really elevate his game to another level this year.
yeah, that could be dangerous for sure.
Hmm.
All right, let's move into number 4. A rookie, a true rookie, Caleb Schweigert, the reigning rookie of the year, uh, champion,
Champion.
and um, had a very good playoffs on the mound. Did lose a game. Um, to Andrew and the Thunderbirds with that Tony Cochran home run in the playoffs, but bounced
There you go.
back, got him a win in game 3, gets a win in game 1 in the championship series. Um, Power pitcher. I mean, he's gonna blow it by you, and he's only getting better. Um, where did you have Caleb here in your
I had
rankings?
Caleb at 3. I
Okay.
had him at 3 because he is a power pitcher. He is arguably the most dominant pitcher currently in Mo Wiff with just speed alone, right?
Yep.
Nobody's throwing that hard. And he's been able to not walk many people, or he definitely found it against us in the championship.
He walked a lot of guys early on in the
Early
season,
on,
but
yeah.
then
But
later
yeah,
on in the season he
yeah,
really started to dial in once he kind of started to figure everything out. And I think that
yeah.
is why he's at 4. I think this he is a young, talented player. And
Sure.
for a rookie, you might be surprised that he's this high on the list and he's number 4. But then again, you might not be surprised because you look at him we
Yeah.
talked about the eye test earlier. This is a guy
Yep.
that passed the eye test. He steps out
He
on the
passed it.
field and
Yeah.
this number 4 ranking is almost strictly just as a pitcher.
It is.
He is worth that much as a
Correct.
pitcher in this league than anyone can be as a two-way player almost. I mean,
Yeah.
he
I'm
if
not wrong.
he picks it up at the plate, he's gonna be a top 3 player, if not a number 1 player on this list. And eventually he probably will be a number 1 player on this
He
list. I mean,
very he very well could.
I don't think anyone ever is
Yeah.
doubting that.
Yeah, no, all signs pointed to him being a very, very good player when we met him in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
And then he was number one overall pick. He definitely didn't disappoint. He had 134 strikeouts, led the league last year in Mo Wiff. But here's the funny thing, right? So Caleb, he becomes the poster child for what Mo Wiff can do
Yep.
because you take him in 22, he's in a tournament. Who are you? What are you good at? A year later, the guy's playing on ESPN and he's
I
known.
forget. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's get real. The guy goes from small town tournament, small town St. Louis tournament
Kid never
to
played. He never played
ESPN
wiffle ball.
national and never played wiffle ball in a year.
Yeah.
So shout out to Caleb on that, man. Just way to go grab it and get it and make a name for yourself because I
Yeah.
honestly didn't. He was even better than I thought he'd be, and I knew he'd be good, and he was even better than that. So
Yeah.
congrats to Caleb, rookie of the year. Unfortunately, though, right? Because things always have something negative. Life gets in the way of wiffle ball, and
Yeah.
we just don't know how much we're going to see of Caleb this year. But life comes first, and then wiffle ball. But hopefully, he's able to prioritize and show up and keep and not against the archers. Okay, so don't show up right if you're against facing me. But yeah, definitely show up. We want to see more of Caleb this year
Yeah.
than
Hey,
less.
if you want to show up during my weeks, please, because the more times I see you, the more I'm gonna catch on eventually, right?
You
Maybe.
already know that's right.
Uh,
You're right. You're right.
so
Yeah, I didn't even get to
I want to
see
see him
him
more.
until the playoffs. I know, and
I
I
saw
hated it. I got
him.
to see him at least once.
I saw him with the Pilots, I think,
Nice.
and then I saw him again with the Mountain
Oh,
Heads. So like,
advantage. Yeah.
yeah.
No, you're right about
So
that.
I'm picking
You're
it up,
definitely,
but
you're definitely right.
it doesn't matter how much you face it when a guy's throwing over 90, it's still hard to
Oh,
connect, even
whew.
though you know what's coming. Like it doesn't matter. So uh, definitely definitely the ceiling is the roof. Is that the Michael Jordan saying or
Yeah,
something like that? I don't know.
we'll go with
Whatever.
it.
Yeah. Uh, all right. Now our top three. People can argue all they want of who they think should be the top three. Me personally, I don't think there was any question at all in order of these top three. It will start with number 3 with Sam Skibby. I think this was a no-brainer. I didn't have to think about 1, 2, and 3. I had to think about every other number. Sam at number 3, um, he did get one second place vote, one fourth place vote, and the rest third place votes.
Third place votes. Yeah.
Everyone pretty much had that consensus. And
Yeah.
he's the guy that is always dangerous at the plate. And he can beat you on the mound too. He's
Yep.
got a lot of pitches. Fortunately for me, I've seen him a lot. I've played with him a lot. So I see him pretty well. But that doesn't say he's not going to get me 9 times out of 10, which
Right.
could be a whole game or two. But hey, by that third game, maybe I'll get one. Um,
Yeah.
but he's got the big time moments. He brought his team to the championship in year 1. Best overall record in last season. He is the inaugural MVP. Uh, what else can you say about Sam Skibby? He's just that guy.
Yeah. And so I will take accountability. I was that fourth place vote for Sam and apologies to Sam, but I really feel like Caleb with that fastball pitcher, he's the most dominant pitcher. He gets the slight edge because we are playing fast pitch wiffle ball.
Yep.
But dude, it's 3
If
and
you
3.1.
if you look at going into next year,
Yeah.
I think that that is a fair argument that you can
Yeah,
put Caleb ahead of Sam because like when you look at it, Caleb's pitching is a lot more dominant and especially more relied upon in this league than probably Sam's hitting.
yeah.
But if
But
you, I mean, Sam's
yeah.
overall career
So
dog.
yeah, and Sam Skibby is probably the most recognizable, name and player in our league.
Yep.
There's not a whole lot this guy hasn't done in the world of wiffle ball, national championships. He's got spotlights on News Channel 5, and if CBS knows what's good for them, he's hopefully a future castaway on Survivor.
Get him on Survivor,
Let's
please.
go.
I watch
Yeah,
Survivor like all the
I
time.
watched Survivor too.
Do you really?
Oh, I
All
love
right,
it,
cool.
dude.
We're gonna link
Yeah.
up. We do it. If anyone in the league watches Survivor, let's do a fantasy
Ooh,
Survivor
yeah.
league. We
Yeah.
new season starts February 28th. So
Let's
uh
go.
excited for that.
Yes.
But let's like you said, the nicest guy in the world, but one of the
Yeah.
guys that I hate facing. He just
Hate him.
he is
Yeah.
like Cole. When I face Cole, Cole always knows how I'm gonna throw. Sam knows what every pitcher is going to throw.
You're
Like
not
he
wrong.
is in the head of everyone. He's so smart. His wiffle ball knowledge is second to none in the league. Um, like he's good for that big time moment at any given time.
So, just to do a quick deep dive into Sam's career in Mo Wiff, I think it tells a bigger story. He's the first ever MVP. You said
Yep.
that. He's a career 255 average hitter. However, he leads Mo Wiff in career home runs.
Yep.
He's tied for first in RBIs at 64. He's second in runs scored, and that's a player mainly known for his hitting, but he's third all time in throwing in Ks, pitching at
Yep.
310, and he's third all time in pitching wins. So, he's definitely a two-way player. There's no doubt about that. But,
And
you think
and
Sam Skibby, you think hitter, but the guy can pitch too.
yeah, in season one, he was the uh national strikeout king, most strikeouts in the country
Oh,
in a
wow.
league. Yeah,
Nice.
for a
Did
season
not know
again.
that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he can do it all. He can do it all. No question.
Yeah, so Sam Skibby, right? You look at what he's got for the corner. He's a cornerstone of the Mojo team, and so now it becomes, can Sam Skibby win a Mo Wiff championship?
Yeah,
Something that's not been done.
heartbreak losses in the playoffs.
Heartbreak losses, but yeah, definitely deserve it of a top three. I would never argue against it. He's fully capable of being a game changer, and Mo Wiff's one of the premier players in Mo Wiff.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right,
What
let's
about
move on. Yeah,
two? Who
let's
is
move.
two?
Oh,
Who is
I
that
mean,
guy?
my jersey number is 3, but
Oh, all
number
right.
2 on the list, it's myself. Um, you know, I think I think this is accurate. I think you know, I will say I did get one first place vote. So thank you
Not
to that
you.
person. And it was not me. I did not vote
All right.
myself first.
All right.
It
Now we
wasn't it
know.
was it
A lot
was
of
not me.
accusations.
No, it was not me, I promise. But uh I think that person, there's a valid argument to be made. Um I'm the only person to have two championship MVPs. One of three
Hmm,
people to have
good stat.
one of three people to have two championships. Here's the picture of the first one. Um, you know, I
Good
am
stat.
very high in every hitting category. I am first in almost every
Ah,
pitching category. Almost.
let me
Yeah.
take care of that for you. You
Okay. Okay.
ready?
Go
Let me
ahead. Go
do it
ahead.
for you.
Let's go. Let's go.
Cam Smith, a nationally known wiffle baller. Let's get that straight. Let's
Yeah.
call it out.
And well,
Tied for
I think it was I think I was number 7
on the drop.
on the drop.
Okay.
And not
I
even
wasn't sure.
that was not even my best year either. My best year he did not do the drop. So I think I would have
Okay.
been top 5.
The case for your number two placement. You're tied for first in all-time wins on the mound with 20. You're tied for first in all-time ERA with .66. And you're tied for no, excuse me. You are alone in first all-time Ks with the next closest guy 40 strikeouts behind you. So
And these are
congratulations.
those are regular season numbers.
Those are only regular season numbers. I
Yeah,
didn't qualify for playoffs or
because
change anything.
if you look at
No,
playoffs, it's a
it changes the
lot
metrics.
more because
It's
like
a lot more,
those
which
graphics
we
I put out.
determined on a
Yeah,
podcast last year. We won't use playoffs for career stats when we're talking milestones, but
yeah,
correct.
for milestones, correct. But like when I
Correct.
put out the
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
some of those graphics that I did, like the fun graphics, like we're going
Gotcha.
to use that because like hey, you put and it's harder
I like it.
to get those playoff stats. So um
Absolutely.
I
My
think there's
average
not
goes down.
my average actually does go down too, but my pitching stats go up. Um
Now,
I
that was just
think
pitching, Cam.
yeah.
Let me, I
Go
haven't
ahead.
got to hitting.
Oh, okay,
Seventh all time
let's
in
go.
average. The
Okay.
seventh all time in average, 284. Second all time in home runs at 25.
Hold on.
And
That's why I'm like 12th in all-time average if you look at everything else, but I'm gonna start using the regular season average.
there you go. See, it benefits you. We're
Let's
only
go.
using the best stats there. We're
Yeah,
only
let's
using
go.
the
All
best.
right, let's go.
Tied for first in RBIs at 64. I think there's like a four-way tie for
Oh
64
shit.
RBIs for no reason. There's no
I didn't even know
explanation.
that.
Yeah,
Cool.
and that's it. I mean, your stats speak for themselves, Cam. Nobody could argue against it. Uh, I think you have done an admirable job of putting yourself as a premier player in this league. However, there is one other person that has rivaled you, but the guy that's tied with you, and we'll get to that person in a minute. But we've seen time and time again, you put the Bombers on your back. And so, as a person who, I mean, showed up when you needed to, that performance you had in 2022 National United Whiff Tournament, man, I think that's something to be mentioned. You
Yeah.
really showed out there. So, congratulations on your number 2 ranking. It's well deserved.
Thank you. And like I said, you can make the argument because of those facts. But I didn't even vote myself number one because I think the number one player isn't even a question. Uh, he only got one second place vote. Obviously that was the person that voted me number one. Um, actually, sorry, he got two because Caleb Schweiger did get a number one uh vote as well. So only he was second in two, but he was one in every other list. It's the back-to-back MVP, the reigning triple
Yep.
crown, the two-time back-to-back Cy Young, the Silver Slugger. The accolades go on and on and on. He's a big reason why I have three straight second place MVP finishes. Uh, but Jordan Smith, I think, when you look at the last 2 years that he has, I think there's no question that he is the number one player going into next year. The one thing he's missing, obviously, is the championships. He's got all the other awards, and you heard it in his speeches last year. He doesn't care about the awards anymore. He's got them
Nope.
all. He
Yeah.
wants the championship. He was not excited. He wasn't as excited when he got that nice ass belt, man. I want that thing so bad. And
It is a
uh
nice belt.
I know it is pretty sweet. That's like one of my
Yeah.
favorite things we got. And he's got two of them. And um I mean hitting as overall hitting last year went down quite a bit from years past. Um
In the league
in the
in general.
league
Yeah.
overall. But he was still hitting in every single game. Yeah, his average wasn't as high as Jason's was or Ryan Brown's the year before. But how many people can say they have a hit streak that was as long as his? I don't even know what the number is. It
16.
was six
He
like
don't
that's crazy.
only didn't get hit in the first game. That was it.
That's insane. And like
Yeah.
to hit the big time home runs when he did. He hit home runs off Caleb. Uh,
Yes.
he just kind of hits home runs off everybody. He gets hits off of everybody. And then when he's on the mound and when he is, when he's fresh, he's the best pitcher in the league. And
Yeah.
that's why he's won two straight Cy Youngs. And he's, probably going to be a favorite to a top three favorite going into Cy Young for next year. Um, we can sit here and talk the numbers all we want about Jordan, but like when you win back-to-back MVPs and you take home almost every award last year, I don't think there's a
Yeah.
question of who's the number one player going into season four.
It wasn't a question for me. I had Jordan ranked number one. And here's my little quip, if you will, about Jordan Smith. When I watched highlights before I got into the league, I said, man, this guy here could be something. I watched 2021 games, and I thought, man, if I just want to be drafted by Jordan, I don't care if it's the third pick, fifth pick, sixth pick. I want to play with that guy because I think he's going to be good. and he's by far blown out every expectation I've had. He's gotten way better than he was in 21. He got way better than he was in 22. So there's no doubt that Jordan Smith deserves that number one spot.
Yeah. And
I will throw. Oh,
the
go ahead.
funny thing is, real quick though, is
Yeah,
going into season one, kid had never played wiffle ball.
that's wild. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
He
I heard
he
that.
was at the
Yeah,
tryout and he was just throwing, and we were just like, hey, this guy looks good. And Josh is like, I mean, he threw the ball kind of hard, but he doesn't really have any experience. Like, I'm just gonna take a chance on him. And like
what a chance.
he hit. Like that's like, hey man, go buy a lottery ticket because like
Yeah,
that was nice. I mean, and obviously like he was not he'll tell you himself, he was not a good hitter in year one. He was
I've
awful.
heard. Yeah, which
Something happened. Maybe it's just the fact that, oh, hey, like this
you
isn't
see the
baseball, it's wiffle ball.
correct.
I know which way it's moving now.
You
Okay,
got it.
cool. Now I got it. And like ever since then, he hasn't looked back and he's just
Yeah.
continued to get better and better.
Some real quick Georgia stats: career 298 hitter, a seventh all time in average, fifth all time in home runs with 19, second all time in hits with 67. Pitching stats even better. He's tied for first in wins with yourself, Cam. At 20, he's tied for first with you and ERA again, and he's second all time in Ks with 340. But here's the stat, right? Here's this one I really like. So when you qualify minimum innings pitch at 100, there's only 7 of you that have done this. Jordan has only given up 4 home runs. The next closest guy is you with 11. That's impressive. 4 home runs in 100 innings pitched
That's not bad.
is a pretty good
Yeah,
stat.
that is
11's a good
pretty
stat,
good.
but yeah.
Yeah, that and especially with how hard he throws, um, like with me, I probably don't give up as many. I probably when people get hits off of me, it's either a single, a hard hit single on the like line drive single or on the ground, or it's a
Mm-hmm.
home run. If you get the ball in the
Yep.
air off me, it's going over the fence because like the velocity. Same with Jordan. Jordan's got the same velocity, but the fact that he's keeping the ball in the park is huge. I mean, that's a huge kudos to him because that's
Yeah.
very hard to do,
It's a
especially when you
good
throw that
stat.
hard. That means you're getting, and like you said, second all time in strikeouts, generating a lot of swing and miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
hey, I like that.
like I said, I go back to the old schoolyard pick as a default way of deciding this list, and I don't think it's lost on anybody. If we started this league today, Jordan Smith goes number one overall.
Yeah, I think I mean, and there's only, two people who would pick somebody different. At least it's submitted
That submitted.
their list, but if it was my team, obviously I'm gonna take myself number one, but yeah, taking out myself
You wouldn't have to. You could pick
if
Jordan.
I'm yeah, if I'm a GM not named Cam Smith and like there's a list, um I'm picking a guy with the last name of Smith. How about that?
How about that? Fair. Can't go wrong.
All right. Yeah, this is fun, and I want to continue doing this every year with this player ranking, and hopefully it just gets better. Maybe we'll even extend it because like the players are getting so good, we might need to do a top 20 next year.
Ooh, yeah.
Could be fun. So we'll see, but a great list so far. Thank you to everyone who did submit a list, took the time out to do that. Uh, and next year, more of you, please submit your list so we can have even more fun with the rankings.
Bigger sample size. Get it.
Yep. One last thing that I want to get into here before we get off. I know it's kind of been a long pod, but just real quick, I want to go through the top 15 per team. So this is just the number of top 15 players that each team has on their roster. And one really cool thing about this is every team was represented here on the top 15 list. So as a
Good.
commissioner, I'm very, very happy about that. That shows the competitive balance that we have across this league. Obviously, there's a couple teams with only one, which is the Thunderbirds, the Purge, the Kings, and the Bombers. Um, Obviously, the Kings, have that 15 right at the end. So only that one, and like the Bombers one is number two. Uh, so kind of got the highs, lows there. But then you look at the Melonheads, they still, even though they lost, Caleb back to that the temporary loan or whatever.
Rent a
They
pitcher.
they still have two, and they have two top 10 players. But then there's three teams with three top 15 players, the Mojo, the Mambas, and the Archers. So um, three deadly teams potentially looking ahead to season 4, but we'll get into all that coming up in the next probably month or so, month or two, 2 months until the season starts. Holy cow.
Man,
Um, I'm getting ready though. I got a lot of stuff ready. Strike zone is right here next to me,
ready to
ready to
go.
go. Ready for the tryout. Gonna take some dents here from these new rookies. So, uh, anything else that you got um, over the top 15 or anything else in general?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think we nailed it. You know, here's the thing: if you're out there, you're listening, rookie, be ready to go to that tryout because this might be your chance to prove that you're a top 15 player in this league. This list is always moving. It's always fluctuating. So come crack this top 15 if you think you're good enough.
Jason just sent me the a couple mock-ups for the draft logo. Very excited to check those out once we get this
Sweet,
call. So yeah, we got
nice.
some really cool things planned for this year, including, different logos for different events that we'll have. And yeah, I'm just very excited for this season to get going, man. Like these next
Absolutely.
2 months are gonna fly, especially with having a second baby
Oh
coming.
yeah, they're gonna fly. All right. Yeah,
Yeah, I might need some help in
yeah,
that first opening night. So if you want to
yeah.
help me out, I'd
I'll
really
be there, man.
appreciate
I'll be there.
it.
You know I will.
But man, I can't wait to see everybody. I do want to. We'll try to give you guys at least two more pods before the season starts. We'll do a prediction show for sure. Um, and then I don't know. I had another one in my mind. I forget it off the
Probably a
top of my
draft
head, but
recap, maybe.
there you go. Draft
Yeah.
recap, for sure. So we'll do one after we do the draft and the division draw, and then we'll do our one prediction show. Thought about doing maybe some captains interviews, but don't know if the time will allot for it. Probably should have started that already, but um, we'll see. We'll just
We'll
have fun
see.
with these pods as we get closer. Give the guys some content to really get hyped up for the season. So I thank you
Yeah,
guys
absolutely.
for sticking around. I know this is a long one, but it was a fun one. It was a uh fun way to go through this list and to get everybody involved and get people talking in the group chat, even though my when I got a new phone, I wasn't getting any notifications for like from the group me because I hadn't opened the app and I was like,
Oh,
why am I not getting notifications? And I went to post our last podcast and I'm like, how much did I miss? And like I went back, it took me like 10
oh my
minutes to
God,
read
that can get
everything.
tedious.
I know I felt so bad because I
Woo.
was like, I wanted to be a part of these conversations. So yeah, I know a lot of the guys in the league have been commenting on their thoughts about the list, but drop your comments, throw us, what you kind of
Sure.
think that who was too high, who was too low,
Rip
and let
our
us know what you
takes on
think.
players.
Yeah,
Feel free.
absolutely. I'm sure there'll be a few of those, especially in the group chat, but I'm
Yeah,
here for it.
be all right.
It's what I
That's why
love
we're
to do.
here.
So, all right, let's get out of here. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see some of you guys uh, on Saturday, February 10th, for our winter workout tryout for our rookies. So, thank you guys for tuning in. It's a 3 Up, 3 Down podcast from Mo Wiff. I'm Cam Smith. That's Roy Rink, and we're out.